Now, this question is for Praveen, sir. Amusing the kind of background that you come from. Maybe it was quite natural for you. You must have grown up watching movies. But then you went on to do your studies, and you went on to do some very exclusive studies, and you worked. Please tell me, I'm very curious, what drew you to films?
Boredom. I would say boredom, and I was at a point in US when I was working for IBM, 10 years into IBM, and I realized I could see where I would be 5 years from then, 10 years from then, in all aspects of my life, and that kind of scared me. I wanted certain uncertainty in life, and I was always drawn towards the creative fields growing up. The reason why I had to go work is, I don't know if you know this saying that the 90s, 80s and 90s kids, you have to finish your engineering first, satisfy your parents, then you can do whatever you want to do. So engineering and then get a job in US, do masters in US, get a job in US so that they're happy, that they can tell everyone that my son is in US, leave him alone. Then you do whatever you want to do. So that's where I was, you can call it a midlife crisis, which came a little early for me. So yeah, that kind of led into, once your job becomes boring, IT jobs, I don't know how many of you are from IT, IT jobs can be very boring. You have to keep yourself entertained. So this was my way of keeping myself entertained. So I started writing stories. And then when the stories kind of felt like these are stories that I can narrate to everyone, then that's when the bug kind of bit. So growing up, I was not going to be a filmmaker. I was not inclined towards making films. I used to watch very, very few films. My parents had to leave me with their neighbors when they go to watch films. So that I was scared of films for some reason. So in the teenagers is when I started slowly watching films, very selective films. Even today, I watch only selective films where I believe that my time is not wasted, or I get entertained, or I get something out of the film. So yeah.
Now, more than answering my question, you've amused me so much that I have to ask you more questions about it.
I tend to deviate from the question, so please keep me on course. And this time is actually very distracting.
I have another question for you. See, when you chose to make films, you directly started making films. Did you train yourself in filmmaking, or is it just that you jumped into filmmaking?
I would say life taught me to become a filmmaker. So I would say as a director-writer, you need to experience life before you want to become a writer or a director. If you don't experience life, as a teenager, if you want to become a writer or director, you haven't seen life enough for you to understand different aspects of life. Or haven't met enough people in your life, gone through enough situations in life for you to derive your own conclusion to write something. So experience life first, and then you have all the time in the world to write amazing scripts and make amazing films.
And it also calls for learning the craft, isn't it? So how much time did you devote to learning the craft as such? See, your writing is definitely art. You're drawing from life and writing. But then the craft of filmmaking, how did you learn?
So a lot of people don't realize that you can learn the craft of filmmaking from anything that you do in a mundane life. I've learned, what you need on a film set is being a good manager. You need to be more of a manager than a creative person, because your creativity is all done when you've finished your script. Your visualization is done in the pre-production. To manage people, you need to know how to manage. So my job at IBM helped me, those 10 years of the tenure at IBM helped me in manage my projects that I did. So as I worked, before I quit IBM, I was managing a team. So those skills helped me to manage, my set. I don't need to, as a director, I don't need to know every aspect of filmmaking. I only need to pick the right people, hire the right people. I don't need to know what lens to use, what lights to put, where the camera needs to be. Uh, this was for the first film. So I had to interview and hire the right people, give them a narration of this is what my story is, this is what I want to showcase. You tell me how I can do that. Same with the art direction as well. So you need to hire the light HODs, 24 crafts, 24 HODs. If you're a good manager, you can be a good director as well.
So this is something that I would like to emphasize for the benefit of the crowd sitting here. If you have a dream of becoming a director, yes, it is possible. If you have to leave your job, yes, it is possible if you're so decided about it. And some things you learn on the field, some things you learn in the industry, but yes, you go forward in life with that. When you spoke about handling, managing people, my next question basically is that you made Chandamama Kada, which won the national award, and then you made other films which actually involved newcomers, some experienced people, a great mix of people. So how do you handle your artists? Handling may not be the right and appropriate word, managing also perhaps, but how do you work with different kinds of people?
So there's multiple aspects of being a director. You need to have clarity, lots of clarity on your characters. And actors are very fragile. They are the most fragile things on a film set. You need to keep them, treat them that they are important. Because it takes a lot to come before a camera and perform. And you need to understand that as a director. So for me, I all the prep work, see, doesn't matter how many films you acted as an actor, or 100, 200, doesn't matter. You come to a film set, when the camera rolls, you have jitters, even the most experienced actors. So you need to make every actor comfortable. So this happens when they have clarity on what they need to perform, how they need to perform, what their characters are, and all this should happen in the pre-production stage. So I interact with my actors a lot. I understand them. Every actor is different. Every actor understands different language. So as a director, it's my job to understand which language they speak, and instruct them in that particular language so that I get what I want on the set.
Thank you. Much as Sanjay sir pushed the mic on to me and refused to answer some of my questions, but one direct question here is, when you're making films, how do you analyze the budget that goes into it? What goes into the making or designing of a budget for a film?
There are two ways of looking at it. One is from an actor-director's point of view, other one is from the story point of view. So as a production house...
So can you please speak into the mic here?
So there are two ways of looking at this aspect. One is from a director, producer's, actor's angle. Other one is from a story angle. So as a production house, as a studio, for us, story is the soul. That's a starting point. So we first listen to stories. We pick up the best ones. We curate them. Then we do the pre-production. So that gives us the kind of budget requirement based on location, number of days of shoot and stuff like that. Then the next layer, obviously to reach that stage, you already have a director on board. Now every director has a market based on his previous film. Or if he's a newcomer, then he has a lot of experience as an AD on some big movies. So you're banking on his experience and you bring him on board. After doing all that, then you look at the actor. So the production cost is more or less will be the same that you figured out after doing your recce and pre-production. The actor will come with either a market potential that he has based on his previous films, or if he's a newcomer, then his market will get created by the kind of hype you will create when you're about to release the film. So if it's an established actor, he has an X amount of market that you think you can capitalize and also add director's market. You ensure that your production budget or the first copy, including marketing, is at least 30 to 40% less than the potential. So what are we saying? If we release it, no matter what, we will at least break even. Even if I say the 40% buffer doesn't happen, and that happens because of the timing of the release, or the kind of movies that are around you which are releasing, and the potential of business that you are able to do at that point of time. So that is how the budgets are kind of fixed.
I'd like to add genre to that list as well. It depends on the genre. Horror, BC centers have a huge market for horror. So comedies have a different. So it's also part of the budget strategies. Yeah.
But sir, if you notice, the thing that is most troublesome in the film industry is the outcome is unpredictable, despite whatever formula that one might want to use. But here you are as a silly monks. You are suggesting, as I understand, that if you want to take up a project, you will at least see that there is a calculated risk taken. You weigh several things, so that there'll be finally a good product that can go into the public, and then, as you said, at least get your money back. No, that formula, if it works, nothing like it, isn't it? There'll be double the number of films can be made. Also, I would like you to openly speak about, they say that the remuneration that is given to stars is too high for us to sustain a film. Please talk about
Should I address the last part or the first part first?
the last one first.
So remuneration is very subjective. The biggest of the hero, the film will flop, or it can become a super blockbuster. We can take Shah Rukh's example. He has given many flops. He's given super duper blockbusters, right? Eventually, the hero, he's paid because of his potential to get that money and get the footfall into the theater. But the first show will determine the success of the movie. So what are we talking about? The film has to be a wholesome thing for someone to come and watch and feel good about it. So that's very, very critical.
You've put me on to Satish sir. I'm just taking off from here.
No, but one second, your first part was about the outcome is uncertain, you said.
Yes, and then you're providing sort of a formula. for
So
success.
actually, nothing is uncertain.
Acha.
If you look at film business as a business, we have 6% success ratio. The reason why it is low is that most of the time it is emotion before economics that goes into the filmmaking. If as a producer you're dispassionate about this whole film, the glamour angle, all that stuff, and you look at it as an Excel sheet driven business, you will never lose money. You might break even over a period of time, may not be on the day of release or before release, but you'll surely break even if you look at it as a business. But a lot of people, they get money from real estate, or they have this passion to be a producer. They want to see their names on the screen. That's where the emotion comes before. So the money that they lose is basically a cost of learning by going to a good college. And these people, most of them, they continue to go to colleges and pay heavy fees because it's always the emotion that is riding.
Praveen sir, I'll come to you actually here when you're talking about emotion. This emotion affect you badly.
Did it affect me badly?
Yeah. I'm talking about he and his interest in his own films, because
Right.
he's produced and directed his own films.
Correct.
So his attachment to his movies, did it cause some kind of disappointment because of your emotional involvement with the subject or with the people?
No, calculations do go wrong sometimes. And that's a learning experience, like Sanjay said. You learn from your mistakes. As a director-producer, what I would do is a film always starts with the script. So without the script, there is no producer, there is no actor, there is no hero, there's no business. So you write a script, or you have a script with you. You read the script. First, you need to connect with the story. How did you connect with the story forms the basis to how much budget you want to put into that film. I just mentioned genre in the previous question, right? That's the reason why. So a particular story that it resonated with you somehow. You liked it, right? It's, you know, funny, maybe it's a comedy, it's a horror, it's a thriller, you know, maybe the masala songs worked with you, whatever. So now, based on the genre, you put a number on that subject with the actor in place and the director and the combination in place. And you see from the past experiences, it's all numbers, right? This particular genre film, how many people came to the theaters and watched? So if it resonates with all those people, then they will, if again, provided this film is good at the end of the day. This is, we're talking about making, before making the film. Once the film is made and how it turns out, it's a different equation. So even if 10% of the people who like this genre come to the theaters and watch, then it's a successful movie. Budget should be based on that. So you have to figure out, you have to do a reverse calculation on how much you want to put in that film. So even if the film bombs at the box office, you still would have broken even, or you made little money out of it.
The whole point there is when one is emotionally attached to a particular subject or a certain kind of star cast, anything that you emotionally bond with very strongly, reason takes a back seat. So has it happened during any of the making of your films where you were so very well, so much entrenched emotionally in your subject that your films went
That
wrong?
was Chandamama Kadalu, actually. So, I think my directors have to be emotionally attached to their films and stories. Producers have to detach themselves emotionally. They have to see their spreadsheet and work on it. So me being the producer director for Chandamama Kadalu, from the previous two films, I wanted to do something that I wanted to deep dive into emotions, and that was a personal. So it was, I would say, a pet project of mine, which I lost money on.
Probably that was the only film that he lost money because he was experimenting, he wanted to go deep down. But I've been associated with him from his second film. I've also acted in 3 of his films. He's a method director, so that's where his IBM cap comes on board, and his movie is ready before it goes for shoot, on paper. So he's like 5% here and there will go in terms of budget, but rest everything is on track, and obviously he's done his math that this actor, this star cast will get him X amount of business. So I think he's not lost money in his own production or the movies that he's done for other producers till date. They may not be a hit as such, but usually in our industry, if you break even, it's called hit. That's how this industry works.
The fact that you mentioned that he is a method and these people, method people are a horror to actors because they demand too much from them. But
I agree with you, but then it's for your good.
yes, I'd like to move on to Satish sir. See, we are talking about VFX, we are talking about animation, we are talking about cinema. But we talk about this like it is something very new. I'd like to bring your attention to the 1902 film, that is Dada Saheb Phalke. He made a film. And the film that he watched initially in India, the first film which he watched in India, which was screened in Bombay, was the film Life of Christ. And he was so impressed with it that he came and did his own film. There was some amount of visual effect in that film. But even before that, in the film industry, when it came up, you had A Trip to the Moon. If you watched it, A Trip to the Moon, that was based on a book. So in A Trip to the Moon, there was a lot of animation. It's a French film made in the late 1800s. A Trip to the Moon shows so much of animation at that point itself. So I would say that visual effects, animation is not new. But today, it has become a necessity. As someone who heads Virtual One, what has been your experience in putting together VFX for films that are made? how much of it is necessary, how much of it is not necessary, and how much more should it be?
Yeah, like you said, in some sort of a special effects have always been there from ages, and computer generated graphics came in only after the speed and the power of the computers increased. So they kept on increasing, year on year, and today we have the computers that we have are unimaginable in a few years ago. So that is how VFX came in. And then when you have the technology, people use it. So now the next advent of this thing is virtual production, which we are into. And so what we do is that, virtual production obviously requires the latest and greatest of machines and software and hardware and all that. And the reason for doing virtual production is primarily to reduce costs or not going for unnecessary set building and things like that, and reducing the cost of VFX, because VFX has, as we have seen in the last few years, VFX costs have become prohibitive. So to reduce the costs of VFX, virtual production came in, and as it gets adopted more and more by the industry, the benefits would be reaped by the industry and the films.
So, are you telling us that virtual production will cost much less when compared to?
Yes, when compared to traditional filmmaking, where you put large sets and all that, it definitely is 1/10 the cost when you use virtual production, because you're using virtual environments rather than physical make-believe sets. And when it comes to VFX, the cost of this thing is that in virtual production would come to about 40% lesser than what it would cost using VFX. The same shot, if you want to do it using VFX and using virtual production. But mind you, these are not things which can be replaced by one another, or it is not that virtual production is going to replace VFX completely. These are complementary. So there are certain things in any film. In my opinion, there'll be three kinds of things that would be made. One, the actual shooting using physical locations, physical thing, that has to be done. It could be a need for the script, or it could be economics. So if a husband and wife drama happening inside a bedroom, there's no point in going in for virtual production or VFX. You might as well shoot it, for economical reasons, shoot it in a real location. So that would be there. And then there are a lot of special effects, as we call it, things breaking in, something happening, and then New York tumbling down and stuff like that. That has to be VFX. There's no other alternative in doing it. And then there's a third set of things which can be done using virtual production. So these three would go in hand for, I think, maybe for the next couple of decades at least, till something else comes up which we do not know what it could
You
be.
have a producer sitting beside you and other producer, director sitting beside you. Would you say that at the script stage itself, virtual production should be discussed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. A script stage is where the entire production has to be discussed to the nitty-gritties. From a pencil that you want in scene 56, on a table, to everything. So, so most of the problems happen by not doing that, basically. Virtual production, I think there is still lot of technology that should come, evolve in virtual production. I would say the only problem with virtual production is you need to be very precise in what you want to shoot. You need to plan very well. I would say that is actually a good thing, not a problem. But the way things are going, so you need to so it forces a filmmaker to be more precise and have, more pre-planned when you go into production, which also saves a lot of money to the producer as well, because you can see it on a piece of paper. Yeah.
So, have you had instances where producers and directors approached you at that very stage where they're making a script to be part of the film? Or is it an afterthought that they come to you and say, why don't you do something?
Normally what we do is we insist that, once your script is done and at the time of your short division and all that, so that is when we would like to get involved. So that is what something we insist on. And then the pre-planning, see, most of the film, like for instance, if a particular shot is being shot using virtual production, most of the shots, you have a complete visualization of how it is going to be, the mood, the lighting, the camera angles, everything is pre-decided. So, but in our industry, it usually happens that, you go on to the day of shooting and then decide, okay, let's shoot this today. So that kind of a thing wouldn't work in virtual production. So what you plan, you need to plan properly, and then you need to execute that.
So, have you had instances where producers and directors began their project after taking you on board, consulting you, so that the film can proceed in that direction?
Yes. So whatever we have done, that is how we have done. In certain cases where the film is already under production and some schedules have already been completed, in that when they want to go in for virtual production, it will only be for that particular part, for which we start with the script, the pre-planning would be done, and that particular piece would be shot in virtual production. But as an afterthought, virtual production will not succeed.
As a matter of fact, thanks to Pratibha ma'am as part of the second cohort of Cine Pruner, I was able to come to your Virtual One studios, and I watched how the whole thing was working. Can you throw some light on the films that you have worked?
We have built environments for multiple films. In the Indian context, Vikrant Rona and Bhimla Nayak are two of the examples that we have worked on, where we have built the environments after the film has been shot, and then they have gone in post-production. It is nothing but, a kind of a VFX, traditional VFX kind of a job that we have done. And we have shot one trailer for a Hollywood this thing. And one schedule we have completed using proper virtual production, the way virtual production should be done, for Upendra's UI. But unfortunately, once UI started, then he allocated dates for Kabza, went into doing Kabza, and then Kabza became a hit. Now he wants to do Kabza 2. So we are still waiting when he's going to get back to UI. And UI being his own this thing, he has, I think, 3 roles in that movie as an actor, and then he's the director, and probably he's the producer too. So
Upendra continues to be as maverick as he was 25 years ago. But weren't you associated with doing some kind of work for RRR also?
no.
No? But some Hollywood films you've done. I'd like to ask one question here before I go further. There is a problem in the Hollywood film industry now where film artists, actors are objecting to their virtual image, yes, sir, Praveen Garu, being virtual images being used. So they've been on strike for quite a few months saying that you cannot use our virtual avatar. Now, where does
No, I think they're ensuring their virtual avatars. They have to get paid for their virtual avatars. I think a lot of Indian actors also have created their virtual avatars, and they're there. So, for example, Amitabh Bachchan garu, we'll see him for ages, forever in cinema. For the screen, he's going to be there forever. So, similarly, Nagarjuna garu's virtual avatar is also there. We'll see him, forever. So, I think Hollywood, going forward, actors need not even come to the sets.
correct?
They'll just whatever you need, you go home, take those, go back to the next technology, and then put it in and make a film.
So is it possible that one star might turn up for shooting for just one day for namesake, and the rest of the film is done based on?
We have an example, I don't want to take names,
Huh.
which was released a couple of months ago.
Acha. Okay, so that's where we are heading. That's so nice. Pratibha ma'am, I'm coming to you. Um, Praveen sir touched upon this. When he came into the film industry, he did it on his own, but then he relied on people who knew the techniques. Now, that in itself is a technique of relying on people who know the technique. And you have come up with a very unique program in the country. Cinepreneur is what you came up with. This is the third batch. For the benefit of people sitting here, I'd like to tell you that it changes your mind completely. If you go there just to learn something out of interest, you really are put on the track of being a professional. And you emphasize this, that you make business out of cinema. Just throw some light on how you came up with this idea, because you have film schools, you have big film schools, but then you came up with this package. What was your, how did you come up with this idea? With what interest and motive? When I say motive, it's not in the negative sense. Certainly you're trying to meet a particular need. Kindly explain that to us.
Good evening, everyone. So, well, that is very, very, what you call, important, and I mean, somewhere that connect is there when I actually thought about this. Because, you know, I have been watching movies, you know, for the sake of it, not with a thorough, very deep interest or a passion, what we keep listening. But then when I used to hear the failures part, like, so when, and that too failing and losing money to the extent of 1 crore or a 2 crore or a 5 crore, that is where I started thinking about it. See, when they say they have passion, so what is the parameter of a passion? So if they can be a little more dedicated about their passion and be little like how the other professions are made, you know, you go and learn, you do your 4-year degree, and then you get you into, instead of just saying with passion I'm coming into, and then create an entertaining movie, but then I realized the entertainment is for the maker, not to the people who are seeing. So he himself is, you know, losing money, and then his life becomes like an entertainment. Telugulo choppalante navula palu, and, you know, stuff like that. So I just thought, ki, why can't this gap be filled? And I, coming from the skill, you know, ecosystem, and being a trainer, a teacher, and all the time a mentor. So this is where I thought somebody really needs to see the gaps, how that can be filled in, how this can be structured, and imbibing this thought. Because, you know, any other profession, nobody will even say, with the passion I became a dentist, or with the passion I became a, you know, an artist. You just go, and you can't go and perform on a stage also as a dancer. They do for so many years, they learn it from their gurus. But then when it comes to others, they say it. But it needs to have certain parameters and structure for that learning, so that that gap can be shrunk and everybody can make. As all of you have seen here, they've been speaking about, even this can be made as a business like any other business if it has some parameters, some controlling mechanism, some understanding about it. So yes, we have been seeing some success, and you have heard it from Sanjay ji himself. So when there is a structure, there is an understanding. So I really thank them. They've been mentoring the, you know, the upcoming cinepreneurs, some of them who are in the room here, including you. So they have really understood the business sense of it, instead of just understanding the entertainment part of it from the beginning. It really helps.
What are the subjects that you're currently teaching in the program?
Okay, so the Cinepreneur program is ideally an accelerator program, which primarily focuses, like, you know, Praveen ji has rightly mentioned, you know, if anybody wants to become a filmmaker, need not go deep into understanding the craft of it, but they should be aware of it, which actually helps them. Now, in his case, his experience has helped him learn a lot of management skills and learn a lot of project execution. So that is where he has learned, but not necessarily so many in the room. Right in their college, right while they're doing engineering, they say, I've already made this short film, I've already made that short film. How much are you, like as he rightly suggested, you haven't even experienced life, you haven't even gone to that emotion of it to direct somebody, to really bring out the story out of it, right? The essence is not bought out. So either you gain the skill and craft in a right manner, or you really go through that life journey and then make it. To shrink that, we have bring in all 24 crafts without which the main elements cannot be made, like, direction, script writing, cinematography, film production, the voiceover, and the film marketing, film branding, and film PR, which are, makes it a very holistic approach. So this eventually transforms your mindset, thinking about the business aspect, thinking about the nitty-gritties, the compliances, which actually helps you become a more aware filmmaker. This is what our endeavor has been, to make it as a holistic approach.
And does this lead one to come up with something like a startup?
Yes, that has primarily been our, because if you see any filmmakers, like you see everybody is, already having productions in the, panel here. So that means media entertainment, whether even, let's say even if you're a makeup artist, you are an entrepreneur. But ultimately, your craft and skill has to be schooled. If you're a cinematographer, if you're starting a production of voice, dubbing, editing, anything. So, but that mindset of entrepreneurship has to be imbibed, which I saw is missing in all creative hearts. Okay, and then the combination of technology, as you have seen here in the panel. Without technology, the future of filmmaking is missing. And then skill and craft, of course, without that, nothing can happen. So this is a combination is what we thought, and this is ultimately entrepreneurship is something which has to be there in your DNA. Even if you have to go and sell your story, you have to sell to yourself, as a director, to your producer, that has to be imbibed. So that is where it's...
That brings me to Vijay Garu. You have guided something like 10,000 startups. This is amazing. Are some of them at least from the media and entertainment industry?
All right. Thanks, Sushil Garu. So the 10,000 startups is not that, we worked with 10,000 startups. It was an initiative by NASSCOM to impact 10,000 startups over a period of 10 years, just to set the context right. So during my, after I moved out of my entrepreneurial journey, I moved to Hyderabad to work with NASSCOM, followed by Amazon and then T-Hub. I've worked with around close to 400, 500 startups very closely. Over the last 1 year at T-Hub, we primarily look at over 500 new startups every year, where we closely, not just 500, but around 10,000 startups every year in terms of the applications that come to us. Coming to a question about media and entertainment, like Pratibha ji said, we realized that we at T-Hub we can't be doing everything, right? Or the idea of T-Hub is how we can bring in experts together to bring in that impact with startups, and that's why we identified Me School and Cinepreneur program led by Pratibha ji to work on the media and the cinema form of startups. From my experience, I have worked with two very key startups in the media front, not from the cinema side, but from the media front. One was Kahania and the other was Way2 News. Kahania being a platform, a software tech platform for publishing books or publishing material, anybody in any content, any language that people want to, and people can read that content, consume that content. And Way2 News again, it's pretty successful one from Hyderabad, doing around 5 million annually right now. They are into local news platform. So these are the very, very prominent startup that I have personally worked with and can quote them about.
Now, if people learn the craft of filmmaking in the Cinepreneur course, what's the next step that they can take?
Well, the next step is like we have, a couple of people here in the room as a success story. So, either they can get into their own entrepreneurship, but if they are freshers, like we have few of them here, we help them go into the internship. We help them get into some kind of a collaboration. Like we had Bhagat, one of our students in the last batch. And we had some, like if you have experience earlier, we had Apurva who could go and work Okay, she could pursue her dream career, and she got her placed, in one of the channels. So, we help them whatever because everybody comes with an individual capacity. So either they want entrepreneurship, or they want, employment, or they want a job, or they want internship. Based on what level they are, we definitely guide them, and we ideally tell your journey starts here. Like, for example, we have Ravi here, who, as an academician, who just came to understand the skill and craft, but now his entrepreneurship is like scaling every day. I come out and see, every time he tells us, I'm sure we should hear from him a bit later. But then, yes, that mindset, once it's become entrepreneurship, like you all know, today it's all in the room, must have seen the image tower, the replica which is being kept in the hall, which is, the magnificent, what you call, the project, what as a state we are all heading towards, which has got the huge potential, be it skill and craft, be it employment, be it projects, or be it entrepreneurship. That is the scope what our state is having with all the international, like any other IT companies. So that is the potential the industry has. So we are guiding them to the next level to take it further, even in their any journey, whatever they would like to pursue.
Sanjay sir, I'm coming to you. When you choose to make a film, of course, the story is important, you said. All right. But then how important is the star cast? How important is the music? I'm not expecting a reply saying that everything is important. Of course, everything is important. But if you have to make money out of a project that you're undertaking, how much of importance would you attach to all of these? Which is more important?
You love to cook? Do you love to cook?
Yes, I make very good biryani, sir. You should taste it.
So okay, let's talk about biryani. So in biryani there is mutton, there is rice, there is dalchini, there is patta, there is this oil, then there is this handi, gas, and the chef, right? What is important for you in that?
First, get some very good quality mutton.
Correct. So mutton or rice could be actor, director, interchange, right? But everything else has to fall in place. So once the biryani is made, it should smell good, which is your music. When you eat it, you feel that it's very tasty. It satiates your hunger, which got created because of the aroma, and then you feel full after that. So, I mean, you said don't say that everybody is important, but there is no other option there. So once your content is ready and you create that hype and people go to watch the film or they watch it in their homes, there's a certain expectation they have before they go into the theater or into their TV rooms. That need has to be satisfied. Without that, there's nothing. So like I said, a superstar, you get on board with huge money. In first half an hour, his fate is decided. The movie fate is decided. So everything is important. Story being the soul, everything is knitted around that. Praveen can throw some light on it because he's worn both the hats.
Yes. Sir, when people conjure up stories, they wake up with stories, and everyone is obsessed with their own stories. And I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of people here and outside. Everyone thinks, those who are associated or want to be associated with the film industry, that they have a very good story, and if they give it to a producer or a director, it can make for a very good story, a film. Is there a scope for people like that to come to y'all with a story and say, can you take my story? I'm not just talking about only the two of you sitting here, but in the industry, is there a mechanism where one can go and say, this is my story, please take it?
I know one place, Silly Monks. Is there anything else? I mean, we don't have film bazaars here, right, in the South? That's a good question, actually. Do we have any place? I think it's more to you, Sanjay.
So what we are doing is we are listening to stories every day. We pick and choose some. We sign up the story writer. Usually the stories come with the director. Usually the directors who bring the stories. So we sign them up and we start curating it. Spend a lot of time, sometimes 6 to 9 months goes in just doing the pre-production, screenplay. The movie has to be ready in a bound format. So that's a studio format, and that's what we do. But from a director point of view, I'm sure, see, Praveen doesn't have so much time to keep writing stories all the time. So he's also listening to stories, and if he likes some story, he would like to collaborate with the writer and develop a story and then pitch it to a producer.
I don't think there is a platform or there's a place or repository of stories or talent. I think 4 or 5 years ago, somebody was developing an app from T-Hub. He was stationed at T-Hub in the first phase of T-Hub, and was developing an app for this repository actually of talent with the blockchain. But I think it's high time that we need to have everything one place so we can pick, what we want. It's like a library of stories or library of.
So we have an email ID called Messy Minds, wherein you can send in your one-page synopsis.
Okay.
If you like it, we'll call them for a narration, and then we take it from there.
Oh, that's very encouraging. At least somebody is there to listen to their or read their story. That's quite encouraging, sir. And then, does the director necessarily have to get his own producer?
No, if I'm a producer, a lot of directors, story writers will pitch to us, and then we'll pick something from there. If he has a story, he likes some producer, he knows that producer might be interested, or he can take up that scale project, he will go and pitch.
So you've provided us a solution. You're saying that, yes, you probably can send your story. Now, what if somebody wants to become a director?
He should be working as ADs on lots of projects before he wears that hat, because he's the one who's actually the captain of the ship. And a slight deviation, he will get lost and the budgets will overrun. And your movie will become a flop because you don't recover. So it's very, very important.
So how does one get that break?
So, everybody's eager to become a director, but that's where you need a lot of patience, a lot of experience, a lot of life experiences, basically. So, like Sanjay said, a lot of work on a film set would give you that experiences so that you learn from other mistakes, other person's mistakes, and not repeat the same mistakes. But today it's easy. Because it's all digital now. When film was there, becoming a director was next to impossible. You had to work for 20, 30 years before you got a chance. Now you have a phone in your hand. Direct something on your phone. You don't need, to be a certain age or whatever, or a certain degree, certain qualification to become a director. If it's in your head, use your phone. There are softwares on your phone to edit it. So direct something, edit something, and then send it across. Put it on YouTube, or put it on Insta. Tag, Rajmouli, for crying out loud. So you can sit at any corner of the globe and tag any person that you want this to reach. It's that easy today. If you have talent, the world is your playground.
Yes, that's very much true. That's practical and it is doable also. But what if somebody wants to approach a director and say that this is what I've done? Is there a scope where one can meet a film director and say, please look at my work?
So this is a situation where a studio like us has a story, and we are looking for the right director because every director has a specialty in a particular genre or genres. So with that story, we'll say, okay, these 2-3 directors will be the right captain for this project. So we go and approach them.
But again, this question goes back to the same an app or a repository that we were talking about. Because on a daily basis, I keep getting a lot of messages on Insta or Twitter that I have a story. It's great. Would you want to listen to it? But how do you filter it? You can't. You miss out. 99% might not work for you, but for that 1%, you need to go through that 99%. So if there is something, where all the stories are already vetted by industry standard, and then okay, this is not working. These are decent stories. Then filmmakers like us, we can go through pick a genre. Within that genre, pick a story or bunch of stories, looking at the log line and say, I think these 3 I would want to read. So whoever is running the repository, I pay X amount of money or whatever, and then I take the stories, I read it, sign an NDA, read it, and then probably take it from there. I think it's time for that. Sanjay,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Now you've shown us at least some way of getting through or becoming a director the way and then sharing a story. But tell me, if I want to become a producer, 99% of people don't want to become producers. They'd rather somebody else spend for their story and work. But if somebody is keen on investing money in a film, how does one go about this?
So you need money for sure to produce a film, right? Now, is it because of emotion or is it because of business? So if it is emotion, you can do whatever you need to do. If it is business, then you have to approach people who have expertise in production. They have some, work that they've done. They're also able to guide you how to sell, market, and recover money. It's not just about putting money and making a film and seeing your name on the censor certificate, right? You have to, at the end of the day, want to take back money. So they have to approach a studio or a large production house who can help them.
Can they come to you also saying that I have certain amount of money, I want
That's
to be
my business model. Silly Monk's business model is around that. We built this in the last 4 years. We started producing our films with our own money. Then we figured that there was a huge gap where people didn't know where to go. They would go to someone in Krishnanagar or somebody they meet over a drink and then they get lured into that. Directors are amazing at story narration. Very few people convert that story into actual thing. So they get stuck, and when they invest half the money, then they have no other option. So that's the gap that we want to bridge.
Yes, and actually I'm done with my questions, but I would like all of you all to take turns and tell us something that I may not have asked or you feel that the audience here should know.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
No, let her have the final word.
To sum it up from the entire panel here, I would like to, definitely our efforts are always to empower the next generation who is coming. I would like to say them there is a lot of potential. India is heading towards, big policies like make content for India and for the world. So there's a huge potential, but having said that, there's a huge requirement for the skilled resource. So keep that in mind, and then all the industry leaders are here, not only here, everywhere across. There are such, mentors everywhere, and all such huge potential business houses who can help you all. So keep that in mind and empower yourself with necessary skills required.
Vijay Garu, one. Yes.
When Praveen Garu was speaking about platforms where there are no platforms where people can look for stories, it kind of like sound very similar to investors looking for startup deals, like, right? Even after there are so many investors and startups, still we kind of juggle around what could be the right platform where investors could find the right startups could find the right investors. So the problem exists on both sides. Having said that, I was just going through some data points where that India, the Indian media and entertainment industry is around $34.5 billion and going to be till 2030, and up by around 50 billion USD by 2035-40. So there's a lot of scope. Like Praveen Garu was mentioning, being somebody like from their sector who still hasn't seen a platform where people can come and put in their ideas, which is vetted. So that's a validation, right? And if you guys, any of you are thinking about starting something, this is the platform. Me School, Cinepreneur is a platform where you come forward and share your ideas, get it validated by experts, and start something. Second thing, but Sushil Garu hasn't, I think that I would like to add is, don't think that your idea will be like you come with an idea and you'll be funded right on day one, right? Funding doesn't happen on ideas. It depends on how hungry you are, how have you validated your idea, and have you built something where people can see your credibility and put money on you. So please, we'll get a lot of people coming forward saying that, sir, I have an idea and I need money. Then only I'll start. Which I'm sure even people coming with stories will not be funded just because they do not have a credibility behind. They have to prove it first, correct? So that's my giveaway.
Sir.
Yes, I was just wondering when talking about skills and then startup and then, so do we even have film accounting software?
We have a screenplay software, but
Yeah,
not
that I heard.
but not accounting. But that we use the usual accounting
accounting.
method because that's how it works. The only thing is, I mean, the reason that we want to fill this gap is it's quite unorganized. How do you make it organized?
Correct.
So the biggest thing is the cash part and the daily payouts, right? So first you have to kind of curb that and then put a structure. That's what we have been able to do based on our last 3 productions. Now we have reached a stage where it's all on paper.
Yeah, so I was, like I was talking to you earlier. So we would want, as many people as possible, to come forward and then adopt new technology. And the more number of, virtual production service providers, the better it would be because, the scope is huge. And as we thought, this is the future. And we will have to get there someday or the other, whether it is 2 years from now or 5 years from now is something is up to, we need to wait and see. But that's one good thing which I hear is that, a lot of people are talking about this technology and trying to, come up with it.
Praveen, sir, would you like to?
Extending the conversation about having no place for the scripts or, to go, those are vetted and all that. It's not our Telugu problem or India problem. Hollywood had the same issue. Hollywood had the same issue. We thought, they could have figured it out long ago, right? But they did not. So recently, a few years ago, they came up with a website called blacklist.com. If you guys, this is a beautiful opportunity for future entrepreneurs and enthusiasts who can venture into it. Blacklist.com hosts all the scripts which are vetted. It's like the academy where you have list of filmmakers, writers from all aspects of life, even businessmen, everybody. They are members in that. They read the scripts that you post in it, and they'll give you feedback. Initially, you can, I think, for 2 or 3 scripts, you can get it for free. For more, or for once you change the script and then repost it again, you need to pay a nominal fee for people to give you feedback. Those are people from all walks of life, not just filmmakers. So, these are scripts which were rejected by the mainstream Hollywood. And they were here, and the funny part is 30% of scripts that were turned into films from Blacklist won Oscars. We're talking about Oscars, not, in every department, not just direction or cinematography. So this is a great opportunity where somebody can put something together and create a model where it's a one-stop shop. At least for script. Once you have a script, then you have companies like Silly Monks where you take the script, or even they can come up with something like that. So yeah, the world is a playground. It's all there, guys.
That's so beautiful. All of you have given hope for everyone to enter into a
I want
domain.
to share an experience anecdote of the journey of a producer. And why I keep saying that it is not a gamble and the outcome is not uncertain is the reason because I've gone through it myself. On 7th of November, my first film will complete 20 years. I launched Gulpanag in Bollywood, Hindi movie called Dhoop. So it was another friend who met a very large distributor at that time, and they presented the script, good award-winning director, amazing star cast, Om Puri Revti those days. He said, you get me this movie, I will pay you 1.5 crores as first copy. Our production budget was 90 lakhs. Okay? So we all excited, we got into it. Then, directors' whims and fancies will come into play. There's a beautiful song which was filmed in Filmistan in a railway station by Wadali brothers. Costed us 15 lakhs in 2003. Is still in the box. When we completed the film and we went back to him, he says, no, I cannot buy the film. I have other priorities and stuff like that. But I can help you release the film. So no money, whatever money we had put in, I was working for Sony. I got my incentive. I gave that money, borrowed from my brother, my dad. Other friends pushed in all that stuff. And we released the film through him. And in a week's time, he removed the film, the very few theaters he gave us, and he sent us a 10 lakh rupees debit note. Forget giving us the money, he sent us a 10 lakh rupee debit note for printing of poster, the slides, and the pasting cost of the posters. Then we got a deal with Doordarshan, we got a deal with one company bought world rights, then we got a deal with a satellite channel, a music thing. We didn't recover our cost. It took me 10 years to break even because eventually by 2013 when we started, there were dubbing rights which were getting popular. Internet, YouTube had happened. So it took me 10 years to recover that money. So if the film is good, you will recover the money. It could take a longer time. After that, we got into films. We produced 3 films wherein we invested as equity and we were the marketing and the distribution partner. All 3 movies, we made money. One movie took us 4 years to recover. Other movie, we had table profit before the release. And the third movie, we made the money after the release. So all that thing we started employing in our production. And that's when we decided that we should float this kind of a service to people who are wanting to get into film production and don't want to lose money. So this is something that I just wanted to share. I mean, 20 years of tension, losing money, then recovering, whether it'll happen or not, all that stuff, we have passed through it. Now, today we are very confident about what works, what should be avoided.